Hey everyone, Miss Jack here, and today we're going to be talking about seasons. So get out your notebooks or a sheet of paper so you can take some notes with me, and we will review seasons. Go ahead and title your page. What do you think it's going to be? Seasons. Okay, you may recall last time, on the last video, if you watched it, we reviewed rotation and revolution. Now, do you remember which of those help cause or helps make our seasons? Okay, it's going to be seasons caused by revolution. But that wasn't all that causes our season. What else helps make our seasons? Revolution plus the tilt of our axis. If you remember, I showed you this mini Earth. This tilt is also what helps cause our seasons. If we were straight up and down like this and we revolved around the sun, everyone would experience the same seasons because they would always be the same distance from the sun or get the same exact sunlight. Okay, so right below that, I'm going to draw a little sun, or a big sun, I should say. Okay, here's our sun. I cut it off because it's much larger than that. And then I'm going to draw our Earth. Now I drew these lines. Do you remember what those lines from the top and bottom with our north and south pole are called? That's going to be our axis. So I'm also going to label north and south. Now I'm going to draw another invisible line that's not really here, but we always refer to it usually when we're talking about the Earth. This line in the middle that cuts the Earth in half, what is that called? This is going to be our equator. So notice our equator is in the middle. That area gets about the same amount of sunlight throughout the year. So the closer you are to the equator, probably the less different seasons that you have. You still experience seasons, but you're not going to experience the drastic change in temperatures. So we have the top here. We're going to call this the northern hemisphere. Get another color so you can see. So we refer to the top part of the Earth as a northern hemisphere. Now this is the south, so the bottom half is going to be called the southern hemisphere. Okay, so now if we look at our northern and southern hemisphere and the poles, we see they're getting up different amounts of sunlight based on if they're pointing towards or away from the sun. Okay, so they're getting different amounts of sunlight. So if I point the sunlight to the North Pole, this is direct sunlight. So if you're getting direct sunlight, what season would that be? This is going to be, the Northern Hemisphere is going to be summer. And in the summer, what do our days look like? Our daylight hours. They're going to be longer. Now, if we look at the bottom, same thing, draw an arrow to the South Pole. Look how much farther the sunlight is traveling. So this is going to be indirect sunlight. And we have longer days in the summer and we have shorter days in the winter. Good job. So now that you know that, just to sum it all up, direct sunlight means that we're in what season? It's summer. And we're going to have longer days. This means that the pole is leaning towards the sun. So if it was the other way around and our south pole was leaning towards the sun, they would be getting direct sunlight and they would be experiencing summer. And now the opposite, indirect sunlight, what season is that going to be? Very good. This is going to be winter. And what does that mean about our pole? The pole leaning away from the sun. All right, so far so good. Now we're going to try to label our seasons one more time in a different way. So you can go to the other side of your paper or in the bottom half or turn it over if you need to. And real quick, I'm going to draw the sun in the middle. Now when we're doing this drawing, we have how many different seasons? We have 4 different seasons. So instead of drawing just one earth, I'm actually going to draw 4 different earths. Now, do we have 4 earths? No, this is just a representation so we can model and show you the different 4 seasons as it goes around or revolves around the sun. So now which way did we say it goes? Counterclockwise. What else are we missing? Our axis. Our north and south poles. I'm going to go ahead and label those N and S. Now, if we are in Texas, what hemisphere are we going to be in? We are in the northern hemisphere. What about Australia? What hemisphere are they in? They're in the southern hemisphere. Okay, and don't forget I also included our equators because if you notice in our drawing over here, our northern hemisphere experiences a different or the opposite season than the southern hemisphere. So we want to make sure we distinguish that on our drawing as well. So now I always like to start with winter, and then I do spring, and then I do summer, then fall. So those are the seasons in order. Now, how do we know which one is winter? And wait a second, let's look at this axis real quick. Over here, the North Pole is facing that way, but over here, it's facing the other way. Is that correct? Well, the North Pole actually faces the same direction always. However, it also depends, if we're flying out into space, we may be looking at it from this side. On my side, it's pointing this way. Now, if I turned and we looked at it from the another side, it would be facing the opposite way. So if we look at it from this direction, and I know it's harder to see, but this North Pole is facing to my right. But if I look at it from this direction, the North Pole is still facing to the back, but now it's facing to my left. So really, it's always pointing the same direction, but when we draw it or we see it displayed somewhere, it could be just a different vantage point or a different perspective that you're looking at it through. So both of these are correct, but just know our North Pole always faces in the same direction and it's not flip-flopping as it revolves. Okay, so now we're going to start with the winter. Now, we are also going to start with the left or right side because these are harder to see. If you notice, we're pointing this way. So if this is the sun, I'm going to use this as my flashlight. If here's the sun, the North Pole is facing, this is in this position, is facing towards the sun. Now over here, you'll see if I shine the light, now the poles aren't leaning towards or away from the sun, so we could even shade it in. So this, if we're looking at this bottom one would actually be shaded in because we're looking at the night side. So same thing over here. We will look here. Now, which side would be experiencing night in this picture? Right. So we could do that here as well, so it's easier to visualize night. And then there we're looking at the daytime only position. All right, so winter will be in the pole facing away from the sun. So on this one, which one is experiencing winter, north or south? Okay, so this is winter here. I'm going to do a different color. Let's see. Winter. And then what comes after winter? So the north is experiencing winter, spring, summer. Now I can check that because is our pole leaning towards the sun? Yes. And then fall. Remember I said the south is experiencing the opposite. So now if this is winter, what is this? It's going to be summer, opposite of spring, fall or autumn, opposite of summer, and here opposite of fall, spring. Okay, so now what about this in-between section here? Well, we can say our winter months in Texas or the northern hemisphere is going to start about December. So if we say this is December, then this would be January, February. This is all our winter months. Does that make sense? So we're not just here and then we jump to this position. We're still revolving and then we hit the next season when we get to this position. So wait a second. We experience winter December, January, February. Does the southern hemisphere have different months since they're in summer? Now, if you've ever traveled to another part of the world, we all use the same calendar. We do not change calendars just because you're in a different part of the world. So while the northern hemisphere is in winter, December, January, February, the southern hemisphere is in summer in December, January, February. Now, what does that school system even look like? If that's their summer, are they off while we are in winter? Maybe. So yes, these months are going to be the same. So December, January, February is our winter. And then here we have what comes next. February, we start March, April, May, and then here, June, July, August, September, October, November. So same thing. Remember our winter, 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 spring, 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 summer, 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 fall, fall, fall. And again, that's for the northern hemisphere. So hopefully this all makes sense to you. If you would like, you can now try to do some practice or look up and try to label the seasons. Erase this or go to a new page and try to draw the sun and the earth and try to label them on your own. Remember, start with the left or right. Are they leaning towards or away from the sun? And remember your seasons in order. Winter, spring, summer, fall. What are they? Winter, spring, summer, fall. Thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.